My name's Rebecca Helm. I'm qualified in New York State in the United States, and I passed all 3 stages of the QLTS assessments first time. I studied law as my undergraduate degree at the University of Oxford in the UK, but then I went over to the United States for my master's degree, did a master's in law at Cornell University in the United States, and then sat the New York bar in August 2011. After I passed the New York bar exams, I worked in New York at a university as a research assistant for a professor working on death row cases. After that, I came back to London and in February 2012 started a training contract at a firm of city lawyers in London. I came back to work in London and I decided to do a training contract in London, which is what students qualifying domestically have to do. But because I didn't do the legal practice course in London, this meant that I had to do the QLTS in lieu of that before the end of my training contract. I think because the assessments are so new, it was really difficult without a course provider to know what was going to be involved and what you had to learn. In particular, the materials you have to know are drawn from such a wide variety of areas of law. It would be so difficult to pick out the information from all the different textbooks and in the necessary level of detail. What the course provider did was provided me with really succinct books of information with exactly what I needed to know in them. And I think that's the main thing I needed it for. I also wanted a course provider for practice questions, just so I could tell that I was doing well. In terms of QLTS School in particular, QLTS School came and presented a demonstration at my firm, and that's how I heard the name. And I looked on their website, saw the success stories, saw what they provided, and it just looked like it was what I was looking for. I enjoyed my course with QLTS School. I used the practice tests a lot, so I used the question bank for the MCT assessment and used my tutor to mark practice questions for the OSCE and the TLST. I also called my tutor and had phone conversations with her, not too often, but once every couple of weeks, just so I could check I was going in the right direction and she could give me any additional advice. I think for the MCT, which is the first part of the QLTS, the practice tests, there was a bank of questions, and because it's a multiple choice test, it really clearly replicated what the actual test was going to be like. And also the materials. You get a pack of QLTS School books, which basically tell you everything that you need to know. And for the OSCE and the TLST, which are the second and third parts, I think the practice questions and having a tutor mark the practice questions just to give me some reassurance I was doing the right thing. In terms of how much time I had available, the nature of my job meant that I had to fit my study around client demands and work demands. So I would usually be able to spend about 2 hours during the weekdays, either in lunchtime or after work. And on the weekends, about 10 hours. And then just before, maybe in the month before the exam, I would commit more time to preparation, so 2 to 3 hours on weekdays and maybe between 15 and 20 hours on the weekends. Yes, my firm was really supportive. I think they've had multiple people going through the process when it was the QLTT and now as the QLTS. And so they have a system that you go through. They gave me a week of study leave before each part of the exam, and also paid for the exams and for a course provider. I felt very well prepared, I think, for all three stages of the assessments, especially the MCT. I'd done a lot of practice tests on the QLTS School website. And once you're passing those tests, it gives you a lot of reassurance about how well you're doing. I think for the OSCE and the TLST, I was a bit nervous, but that was more because of the environment that you're going into. I was very comfortable that I knew the material and nothing came as a surprise on the day. I'm currently working as a trainee solicitor still, so I'll be assisting the associate solicitors with the tasks that they're doing, and they will be leading on the deals and I'll be providing assistance to them. But what taking the QLTS has done has meant that in a year I'll be able to start working as an associate solicitor when I finish my training contract, and then I'll be able to take the lead on tasks during a deal. It's helped me because I will be able to become an associate when I finish my training contract in a year's time. I think it's also given me a skill which is transferable. So even if I go back to New York, having an English legal qualification is really helpful when looking for jobs. I think that it is necessary, especially for the MCT, to have a course provider. As I said, it covers such a broad area of law, so even if you have legal experience and legal training, there's a lot of the material that you won't know. And without having a course provider, there's no one place you can go to for the information you need to know for the exams. For the TLST and the OSCE, it might be slightly easier to get the information from textbooks, but it's still really useful to have the reassurance of a course provider. So you've had someone who knows about the exams telling you that you're at the right standard and that you're ready to sit the tests. I think I would say bear in mind that they're not easy assessments. It's not technically difficult what you have to know, but there is a huge amount of material. And it's definitely more rigorous than the QLTT, which came before it. So even if there's a perception that you don't have to do that much work, you'll find quite quickly that you do. So just give yourself enough time to make sure that you're ready when it comes to sitting the exam. And also I think just make the most of your course provider. So they're usually there to call if you have any questions or to schedule practice tests with. And I think that's a really helpful resource to have. I think I would recommend the QLTS to anyone who wants to work long term in England and Wales. In terms of how long it takes to prepare, I think that depends on how good you are at memorising large amounts of information and also how you like to study. So for me, I would rather study quite a lot for a short period of time than study in a very relaxed way for a whole year. So for me, someone who likes to study like I do, I think probably 2 or 3 months before each part of the exam is enough. But I think if you wanted it to be relaxed and not have to spend every weekend, you could give yourself 6 months to a year and comfortably learn the information.